And good evening, good evening. If you're here, you're on GameFace. Wait a minute. So, to bring some clarity, if you were trying to figure out how to get a reduction on that turkey that you picked up last week, you're on the wrong podcast. And by the way, if you're trying to figure out who's the best person to be socially with because of the quarantine, you're on the wrong podcast. However, if you are trying to get insight into knowledge regarding Bay Area sports, you're put your game face on. And if you're trying to get insight on sports on a national level, you just put your game face on. I am Richard the Razor Ewing. I'm with my co-host Mike the Shu. Mike, what do we got?
Well, we got an old friend and teammate joining us, a regular on the show, we'll call him, Mike Wilson, four-time Super Bowl champion with the San Francisco 49ers. He won a Super Bowl his rookie year. And I think the next to last year before you retired, you won a Super Bowl. So not a bad way to go in and out. And Mike, thanks for joining us.
Oh, yeah, my pleasure. Always for you, Mike Shu. And hey, I got a smile on my face. I live here in Southern California, and the 49ers came down and handled their businesses yesterday.
Well, we both know what a great rivalry that is. The Niners have swept them now 2 straight seasons. Rams are 0-4 against the Niners the last 2 years. Kyle Shanahan owns Sean McVay. He's like his little brother. And Robert Saleh, the defensive coordinator for the Niners, is Sean McVay's daddy. That's how, I mean, he makes Jared Goff look like an. How can the Rams look so good last week and then come up against the Niners and it's unbelievable.
I don't understand it. I don't understand what happens. I'll tell you something. I did not pick the Niners to win this game. I did.
Oh, no, I don't think anybody did.
They played against Tampa, and they played them well. And I thought, okay, they had Tampa's number. They should be able to come in and do what they need to do to claim.
You would think with the
NFC West.
Right. You would think with the division leader and the last place team coming to their home stadium, 49ers having a backup quarterback, and of course the Rams with their starting unit there, it was going to be a tough day for the 49ers. But shoot, the 49ers put together a very physical game, played well, made plays, and that's the big thing. And as Mike Shu just said, you know, it's all about that rivalry. 49ers and Rams, we always got after it.
Well, they're beating them up in L.A. You're in L.A. They must be beating up the Rams today in the all over the platforms.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the 49ers defense, wow. You know, Richard Sherman was back, made a play. The D-line played well. And, you know, it was just Goff had a rough day. Woods and Kopp, the second half, they disappeared on us. So, it was a good defensive performance. And then, of course, Deebo Samuels, you know, I'm a wide receiver, and he performed like no other. And it was a great game for him. And the 49er offense really, with the running back tandem, they ran the ball pretty well.
All right, before we get going, they killed me yesterday in my gambling fix. The NFL season in full swing. You're not at the games, we know, but you can be in on the action on Bet Online. Richard's enjoying this. All right, from game spreads and totals to team to players and coaching props, Bet Online gives you more options to wager than any place online. Lured me in yesterday. And there is always the online casino as well. It never closes. All right, so head to betonline.ag today. Take advantage of all the great sign-up bonuses. Again, that's betonline.ag and sign up today. Bet Online, your online sportsbook experts. All right, let's talk about.
Okay, wait. I want to clear this up, Mike. I'm not enjoying it. It's just kind of gets to a point where you just look and go, really?
Well,
wow.
Yeah, I couldn't even take the spread yesterday. I just thought the Rams would kill them. So,
yeah. In other words, guess what? If I was a gambling man, Mike, I would have been with you. I would have bet on.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have bet for the 49ers.
Right.
I'm a Niner fan, and I would not have bet on the 49ers. I wouldn't have.
All right, let's talk about a man Mike just brought up. You know, the Niners had 3 turnovers in that game. The defense didn't get 1 point off of them. They were up 17-3 at one point. Rams came back with 17 unanswered, and then it came down to field goals. But Deebo Samuel, his first game back since, I think, week 1, and 11 catches, 133 yards, He had 6 catches, a +10 after the catch. 83 of his 133 yards, Mike, were after the catch. And what is it? You and I were talking. He reminds you of Anquan Bolden. And Debo's kind of barrel chested. He's really strong from the waist down. And when he comes at you, he's a wide receiver. So I think DB's saying, well, let's take him down. And how many guys you see just bouncing off of him yesterday? What is it about this guy that impresses you so much, Mike?
I think he has a mentality of just being physical. I was fortunate enough to coach Anquan Bolden in his prime, Arizona,
right.
San Francisco, and play. But Debo, I tell you what, now he gets the ball in his hand and he's trying to go north and south. At the same time, he is, the old saying, feeding the DBs his pads. He had, I think you just mentioned, Mike, out of 133 yards, 83 of them were yards after the catch. And that means, after contact. So he was being very physical and brought his A game. And it's good to see that aspect of the 49ers back, because last year they did it quite well. And unfortunately he was injured, but now he's back. And hopefully we can put together a couple of strings of victories, because it's going to be tough selling. I mean, you're not sure where you're playing. I guess you know where you're playing, but you've been kicked out your home stadium, and it's going to be interesting rest of the second half of the season with the 49ers.
And we'll talk about that in a second. The 49ers are going to have to relocate for their final 4 games. So, and I don't think Richard, you might know, Brandon Ayuk and Debo have only played 1 game together this year. So think when they get both of them on the field.
Well, the interesting thing I think was happening is you kind of see really the fabric in the thread of San Francisco right now, because they've been pressed, they've been pressured, they've been, basically been in a situation where they're not comfortable. And, you look and you think to yourself, okay, what else can happen to this team? I mean, come on, you got more than half of the team is injured. You got a situation where the county of Santa Clara, which we are going to talk about, and I'm going to bring this up to help us to understand, is telling them, hey, guess what? You can't play at home. It's like, okay, what else are you going to throw at this team? Kyle Shanahan, as the head and the director of what's going on in this field, I'm sorry, even if these guys don't, make much of an impression in playoffs or whatever, you got to tip your hat to what's going on in San Francisco as a team and as an organization. I mean, they stuff has been thrown at them, and they absorbed it. They've absorbed it, and I'll tell you right now, the move to Arizona. I tell you something. If I'm the Cardinals, I'm not really happy with this, because these guys are going to get comfortable. And then all of a sudden, guess what? They're winning games in Arizona. And it's like, well, wait a minute. That's our home field. How you come in here and do what you do, and now all of a sudden you're still winning games? And I'll tell you something. The NFC West right now, it's got a question mark on it. I'm sorry. There's not anything definitive. Yes, we know that for the most part, Seattle seems to be the dominant force. But the beginning of tonight's game, I was like, really? I didn't see Seattle walking away with this, and maybe the other team fell short. But at the end of the day, this is a team that seems to absorb what's being thrown at them. And if this continues, we may be at the end of this season going, guess what? We're not stopped talking about San Francisco.
Well, let's go ahead and bring it up. The county of Santa Clara, the city of Santa Clara, and the 49ers don't get along. So the county is the one who put these restrictions down. No contact sports. You can't practice at your facility. You can't play at your facility for the next 3 to 5 weeks. So Arizona offered them to play in their stadium. Now they got to find a place to train. So they'll probably, they'll create a bubble down in Arizona for the next 5 weeks. But you take the players away from their families during Christmas and New Year's now. And, that's not a big deal, but it affects you. Mike, you played for a decade and you coached for almost 2 decades. So how does this affect the team? And like Richard said, 13 players on IR. They got COVID issues.
Yeah.
What else can happen to the 49ers? How does this affect the team to have to just up and move 3/4 of the way through the season?
Yeah. Well, it's unprecedented. I think they're the only team out of the 32 that have to, make these special accommodations. And trust me, I mean, you're talking the holidays. I remember practicing on Thanksgiving Day and going home to have dinner. And then you always, whatever was going on Christmas or New Year's, we were always in the playoffs. You always got excited about it. Family was around, and now they get to, honestly experience what the NBA experienced in their bubble. But the Niners have a uphill, uphill challenge for them. They still got to get past still the Rams and the Seahawks, and they got to show that they can play consistently. They are playing with a backup quarterback who, I think they're doing a good job of keeping this game plan simple. But as long as they keep getting healthy and bringing more players back, it gives them a chance. But we will see. But I know it's going to be tough in the desert. At least the weather there is still in the 70s in the daytime. So I wish him well. I usually keep in touch with Keena Turner, and I haven't heard from him. I called him yesterday, and I don't know where they're staying and how they're going to do it. But I wish them well, and they don't have a choice but to button down and deal with it.
Well, they get to 5-6, so now they're all of a sudden back in the playoff hunt as a wild card team. And Arizona lost last week, which helps them out. They get the Cardinals the last game of the season, so that could come down to almost like a playoff game because they have the Bills on Monday night, then they have Washington at home, they go to Dallas, and then they go to Arizona, which will be like another home game. So they lost 3 straight. They beat the Rams, but like Richard said, Kyle Shanahan really deserves Coach of the Year for what he's done with what he's had. And then Robert Saleh, lost at D Ford. He lost Boza. He lost Richard Sherman. And their defense is still 7th ranked, I think. And he's up for the Detroit job. He's from that area, so his name's be thrown around for the Detroit job. So got to give this team a lot of credit. Jimmy Ward had 2 caused fumbles. Previous 73 games, he had 0. Hyder had another sack. He has 7.5 on the year leading that defensive line. And Javon Kinlaw, a pick 6, a big 99. So you got to give that defense some credit. I thought Sloan came back.
Look, Mike, when you brought up the Javon Kinlaw, you got my juices flowing, brother.
I was loving it.
Let's keep it real. Hey, Jared Goff with that pass, are you serious? Really? You're going to run that pass right now? Kinlaw's looking at that. Oh, that's a gift. Look, he took that gift, and ran to the house and put it on national TV so everybody could see it. So at the end of the day, what does it help us to appreciate? It helps us appreciate this. Right now, San Francisco is the anomaly. I'm sorry, they are, okay? And guess what? If I'm a team looking to make headway into the playoffs, I don't want to see these guys. I don't, because why? They got nothing to play for. They're 5-6. If they lose the next 3 games, they're out of the playoffs. But if you're trying to get in, that's a team you don't want.
Yeah.
What are they?
That's true. That's true.
What are they?
Well, and I want to comment. You're dealing with a team that was just last year, in the Super Bowl, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So I mean, it's not like they have not tasted success, and maybe the momentum gets going and they get on a roll.
Mm-hmm.
No, I just still think that at some point, to me and as a offensive mind, I mean, I still look at the quarterback position and, hopefully they can settle down and have some continuity there. But, the young man played well yesterday, and hopefully he will just continue to get better and can stay healthy.
Well, Jimmy G could be back in 2 weeks. And that'll be a question, Mike. I mean, as a former coach, do you throw him right in there like they did with Sherman, which surprised me? I thought Mosley and Verrett would stay at the corners. Or do you stay with Mullins, who really has struggled behind that offensive line? I think Nick maybe threw 4 solid passes yesterday out of the 25 he completed.
Okay, but this is the deal. The deal is, with that setup they had, Goff had to rethink his decision-making. Come on, Goff was back there going, no.
No, that was solid. I agree. He always schemes them well.
Robert Saleh changed Goff's decision-making in that game. He did. And that's unusual. And I say it's unusual because Goff, the one thing about him I noticed, when he has a receiver or a set of receivers or a play that he's running, he doesn't change. If you've ever looked at the games that he's been in, where they've won, they've played against Tampa, the other games, when they've had targets, he doesn't change, man. Saleh made him change. Saleh was like, okay, no, I'm bringing the look. And Goff was like, oh, no, look. Man, I think it was a couple of times, Goff had to run the ball.
Well, I think, too, these days you have coaches like Shanahan, McVay. They think, Arians, that any play they call is going to work. So your quarterbacks don't have the ability to option out, Mike, like we used to, number one. And like I said earlier, what do you do if Garoppolo comes back in 2 weeks? Do you
Yeah,
start
I mean,
him? Do you?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I
you know,
mean, that's,
I think obviously, you know, the head coach and offensive coordinator and I guess quarterback coach will make that decision. I mean, he knows better than anybody. I know that, you know, sometimes I remember days, and I hate to go back and 49er era, but one time Joe was injured and Steve was playing, and that question came up, and Steve was playing well. Yeah, put Joe in, and we end up losing a playoff game or losing the game. And so sometimes you got to go with who's doing well. But I just think that the 49er offense needs to, you know, have some continuity, some consistency, get all their skill guys back so that they can do it. But, you know, if they can continue to run the ball, at least it takes a little pressure off trying to throw that ball every single down. But, you know, once again, Shanahan's got to make a tough decision there.
all right. You just brought something up that I got to ask. Sorry, Richard.
No, go.
I sort of forgot that you played with Joe and Steve.
Oh, yeah.
All right. A majority of your career was Joe as your starter, but
yeah.
did you have a preference?
He was a backup there for 4 years before we with Joe.
I know. Did you have a preference?
Well, you know, I love both of them, and I think I played the majority of my career with Joe.
Right.
The thing that Steve brought to the table was that, you know, he was a softball. He threw the ball out with the left hand, and it would come out different. And I remember distinctly, and Mike would understand this. I had a 22 Z in. I was playing Z. Perfect route, burst, came back. I'm looking for the ball, and 3 yards in front of me, there was Steve running right at me. You know, so that was the side of Steve that, and there was no pressure. He just took off.
Right.
Of course, as a receiver, you know, you want your catches, but Steve did bring that ability to run to the game, and you just turn around and block for him. And so, but no, Joe was the man. You know, no question for me. You know, Jerry played with Steve for quite a few years, but I played with Joe until I think he played 1 more year after I left. So, but that was interesting. Those two, you know, and now we can talk about it. I mean, Steve was probably the second highest paid guy, being the backup quarterback on the team. And that was interesting as a player. But, you know, 49ers, hopefully they still maintain this. I mean, once it was game day, we showed up to play, and the number one goal was to win. We weren't worried about anything else. So I'm hoping that, you know, that can be continued next week with the 49ers playing their next opponent.
So what you're saying is Joe is the best right-handed quarterback.
There you go.
That's left-handed.
There you go. I mean, they're both Hall of Famers, and Steve got better, obviously, as he had a chance to be under the quarterback.
Yeah, after you left.
The system was dynamic, and he took full advantage of it.
When you think
about Steve was kind of the first, I don't want to say Lamar Jackson, but he was kind of the first of that breed.
Yeah.
At the end of the day,
and they didn't protect the quarterback back then. Steve took some.
No, they did not.
Yeah.
Right. Let me tell you something. At the end of the day, everybody who watched and was with the Niner faithful, they know, hey, when it really came down to it, Joe was the guy. Okay. But when Steve stepped in and Joe could no longer carry the mantle, we supported Steve.
Because
of what he did in the field, and because of the fact that Steve did things where you had to give him credence. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He did stuff. You went, what? Are you serious? Yep. I mean, he had the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, after he made a run to the end zone, going, we had no idea that Steve Young was going to run that play and he was going to run the football. We had no idea. And the fact that they didn't know, beautiful. That was,
I don't think Steve knew.
Yeah. But I'll tell you something. One of the things I want to step in with, guys, is I had, and Shu will tell you this, Mike, I go through my occurrences of my day, and I run through things. And I had a situation happen about a month and a half ago where I was out doing my day, and I ran into the great Patrick Willis. Okay. And I took him. He was really cool. He was just in other words, if you're wondering if Patrick Willis is cool, he is. Okay, look, that's it. He is. So I'm here to tell you, he is. So, but I had a situation. I was out today, and I had a family that I did services for up in Los Angeles Hills, and I didn't get a chance to tell Mike about this, but I'm a sports guy, and I do football, but I'm also basketball. I love basketball. I do. I love the sport. I love everything about it. I played it. I coached it. Everything about it. And I ran into two young men in Los Altos Hills today. Dio and Sean. These are two young guys that I ran to, and they have aspirations about playing. One of the guys actually, this kid, Mike, with all due respect, if you'd have seen this kid, you'd be like, okay, you know what? Okay, look, this kid looked like he could. Okay, look, he looked like he could. Okay, look,
Yeah.
okay, and his brother Dio, scrapper. Okay, just when it comes to dribbling, he okay. In other words, these kids, they look, they watch basketball, and they do the whole. And by the time you're done, you're going, okay, yeah. In other words, I don't want to doubt the youth right now. I don't, based on what I saw today, because these kids could probably make a headway.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to say a shout out to Dio and Sean up in Los Santos Hills, and my guy, broad shot, so forgive me there. But it was interesting. But they watch. Matter of fact, they're going to be watching this because they said they would, and they saw Mike, and they were like, "Wait a minute, wait, I know they wait a minute. Didn't he play for the Niners?" I'm like, "Well, yeah." They're like, "Yeah." They were all pumped. They were all okay. They were all like, "Yeah, look, yeah. No, we'll be watching. They were all pumped, and so I told them I would mention them today. So Dio and Sean on Santos Hills, thanks for watching. And Jennifer.
Hey, and Richard, let me just say, hey man, tell those young men and you guys, if you're watching, hey man, continue with the passion, the drive.
Mm-hmm.
You're play with your heart.
Mm-hmm.
You never know. Sky's the limit. There's
Sky's the limit.
There's nothing in your way. You just gotta.
They want to do their thing.
Do your thing. Also, stay in school, handle your business. But wish you well. And I think just like everybody, you never know where it's going to end, but always set your goals high.
You got to have a backup plan too. That's what the education's for.
Yeah, right.
All right, let's talk about the NFL's running into some issues. The last Thursday's Ravens-Steelers game postponed to Sunday, postponed to Monday, Tuesday. Now it's going to be played on Wednesday. And as a result, the Steelers' next game on Monday night or Sunday will be moved to Monday night. So a lot of games are getting moved around here because of COVID. Mm-hmm. As a coach, former coach, Mike, players we know they just do what they're told, and they'll play wherever they have to play. But as a coach, how does this affect kind of the preparation? And
right.
You think you're playing today, tomorrow, you're getting moved, you're not getting your days off. How does it affect it?
I'm gonna make a comparison, and no disrespect to the Raiders. When I coached with the Raiders, Davis was alive and involved with the offense. Mm-hmm. Every week we put in a new game plan. I mean, we look at tape and it would be a whole different game plan. Okay, rewind to my days with the 49ers, from training camp to the first game to the 16th game, it was always the same game plan. You just add a little bit more special play in the red zone. So you're getting better every week. And so I'm assuming, that for a team that has continuity and consistency with their system, I mean, wow, look at Kansas City, man. They're just got good talent, but there's a system that those guys are familiar with. As long as you can have cohesiveness and continue to play, and you have your base plays, and you still can tweak it, I think the players will be okay. I just think it's probably tougher on these coaches having to make these adjustments. Your body gets so used to having 7 days of rest and then starting over, but now it's just, hey, you don't know when you're playing, just suit up and go play. And this is obviously an exception to the rule this year, but it's got to be challenging for everybody involved, including the NFL and trying to reschedule everything with what's going on. But I realize that COVID is like I said, I talked to Larry Fitzgerald yesterday, and he didn't play yesterday because he had to stay home. But it is challenging for these teams, players, because you don't know from 1 minute, and I'm rambling now. Denver yesterday, practice squad wide receiver. I mean that's unheard of in the NFL. So you just don't know. But so far they're trying to make the schedule work and keep things going. But to play on a Wednesday and then come back and play on a Sunday is going to be tough.
Well, it seems like the league, real quick, Richard, is like the 4 Denver quarterbacks kind of got out of they did some things they weren't supposed to. And then they all were, one tested positive, so all 4 of them had to sit. And of course, Colin Kaepernick could have been signed, but no. Whereas the Niners were forced to play on their Thursday night game. Ravens and Steelers are doing everything they can. You know, they've moved their game 4 times, maybe because the Steelers are 10-0, or this is a game that really can decide a playoff spot. But it seems like different teams are getting treated differently by the NFL. Would you agree?
I would have to think yes. And the reason why I say yes is because, Mike, you brought up a very good point. You brought up the fact that, and this is the thing, based on what we know, Colin wasn't going to get signed by Denver because there was a lot of inconsistencies going on. But the reality of the matter is you have other teams in this league and they should have signed him, because at the end of the day, this is about having personnel available. Okay. And COVID has taken away the personnel. So in other words, if you had NFL teams that had problems in the past about signing Colin Kaepernick, there is none now. Okay. You have COVID-19. Quarterbacks and players are being taken out because of this. So there's no reason for you not to sign this guy. In other words, we're not talking about capability. We're not talking about what he can do. We're not talking about the ifs, ands, and maybes. If you are an NFL team, you should sign Colin Kaepernick because he's Colin Kaepernick.
No, I disagree. And first of all, it was too short notice for him to pick up the offense to be able to play. Now,
well, no, I'm not talking about him picking up the offense. I'm saying you look at Denver. What did Denver have?
The guy completed 1 pass now, so I don't care what offense you had.
No.
If Mike, and I'm gonna take it a step deeper with if we're gonna talk about Cap, you look at Pat Shermer, who's the offensive coordinator in Denver. He's a West Coast guy, came under Andy Reid. Andy Reid came under Mike Holmgren, and Holmgren came under Walsh. So, but what they did with that offense I was surprised that they weren't throwing more bubble screens and trying to get the ball. Use the offense differently than what they did. Your guy was not ready to drop back and throw Mike, how it is to throw a comeback.
No, and it's a joke to the league, and the Broncos, that they had one team, I think it was the Jets or Buffalo, signed, he's been in the league for 20 years as an emergency quarterback. They're paying him $20,000 a week just to be available,
right,
in case a situation happened like it did in Denver. I can't think of his name. Anyway, almost every team.
I heard that too, though.
Yeah. So, all right, real quick, we're running out of time here. Growing up, you were a Rams or a 49er fan from LA?
Oh, sure. I was a Ram fan, and where Lamar Lundy was our neighbor growing up in Southern California.
Oh, okay.
Really?
And then you had to be a Laker fan over the Warriors.
Oh, Lakers the only team in LA. I don't even consider the Clippers an LA team.
Wow, that's
all right. Well, last week I told Richard he can forget about when Klay Thompson went down. The Warriors may be going back to the playoffs. They might be like the 9th best team in the West, and the Lakers got better.
And by the way, you heard it first. You heard him say that. Okay.
Right.
Next season, when the season starts, remember that, Mike. Remember what he
said. Yeah. But Steph Curry can't even beat Charles Barkley in golf. You think he's going to?
Well, Steph got the contract now. He was playing golf last Saturday. You're right.
No,
let me ask you both something.
Steph was the weakest link in that match.
Okay, but let me ask you both something. You kind of get the sense that Charles Barkley can do no wrong right now. I mean, the guy is nothing he says, people are saying no to right now. He should run for president, really.
Well, and he knew you're not going to beat a pro golfer, especially alternate shot. That's like saying to Steph Curry, I'm going to beat Steph Curry in a 3-point shooting contest. No, you're not.
Yeah.
But what do you think about the Warriors' chances, Mike, next year? Without Klay Thompson?
I mean, I wish him well, because it's very important with Klay getting injured. Obviously you got Kevin Durant left. And so you look at a team that was trying to rebuild, and one of your main cogs in that system is out with an Achilles again. So that really set them back. They've been snake bitten big time. But now let's come down to Southern California, and the Lakers are back with LeBron. They got Anthony Davis. They just got Montreal from the Clippers, which was a surprise. Who would ever thought he would come? And then Dennis Schroeder. You got hopefully Kuzman can finally become the player he should, and then Marc Gasol, who knows what his role will be with that offense. But the Lakers have gotten better, and they are still trying to. They say they got about 3 more acquisitions to make. But I've been a Laker fan for life, and I my last coaching job was with the Cleveland Browns outside of the XFL, and LeBron is special, and I know for those either you love him or you don't, but
no, let's keep it real, Mike. LeBron,
yeah, he came here and handled his business, and Anthony Davis.
As long as he's got people around him, that's when he's
AD Anthony Davis, played very well. So, but we're talking about they're about to strap it up in less than a month.
I know.
Lakers are deep.
Lakers are deep. I'll give you that. The Montrezl Harrell sign, that changed everything for me. It did. Because I saw that and I thought, okay, wait a minute. That was bad.
He gets them a little nasty.
Yeah,
I mean, he's the guy who's going to go in and mix it up.
Yeah.
Because Harrell is still young. He's not an old guy. He can still get it done. So that was big for them. And I still think, kind of back in my mind, I'm still thinking that Warriors team that everybody's looking going, okay. It's like, okay. And that's exactly what we want. We want y'all to
All right.
Yeah. And let's don't forget Portland's up there. So waiting.
Portland, come on.
No. You got 2 LA
Mike,
teams, Portland.
Come on.
Utah, Phoenix.
Yeah,
Denver. There's 17. Houston, if Westbrook Harden stay there.
If you said Utah and Dallas, okay, I'm listening. But Portland,
and Denver.
And Denver. Oh, Denver. Hopefully they.
Yeah, the Nuggets. Yeah, okay. Now I'm listening. If you talk about Utah, you talk about Dallas, you talk about Denver. I'm listening. Okay, you got my attention. But Portland.
Yeah. Hey, I got a question real quick. Now, are those guys, are they in the NBA trying to play back in their home stadiums, or are they going to do the bubble thing again?
No, they're doing their own stadiums, which will be interesting because with all the travel in the NBA, because
okay,
that's the biggest difference. NFL is doing it once a week. Now, all of a sudden, you're playing 3-4 games a week on planes, moving hotels. I think it could be a nightmare for the NBA during the regular season.
No, trust me. COVID-19 will be a nightmare for the NBA. I am Richard the Razor Ewing. He is Mike the Shu Schumann. We got Mike, the Wheels of Steel. I still say Wheels of Steel. Okay.
Wheels of Steel.
Okay. Wheels of Steel. Okay. This is GameFace. You come here, you better put your GameFace on, because we don't have anything less than that, son. You understand that? Thanks for tuning in. Come back, hang out with us. We'd love to have you, but you better have your GameFace on.